When Joe Biden is done with his presidency and fades into irrelevance, he might want to look back and guess what went wrong. To be fair, many things have gone wrong, but it is the Ukraine war that will stand out. And now, the war is turning out to be a huge blunder as Biden gets sandwiched between angry Americans and an indifferent Zelensky. Hi and welcome to TFI Global, the foreign affairs and geopolitical analysis arm of the TFI Media Group. I'm your host Atul Mishra, and if you haven't subscribed to the TFI Global channel yet, please hit the subscribe button and press the bell icon to receive all the latest updates. US President Joe Biden has shown the first signs of caving in to domestic pressure over the Ukraine war. So he asked Zelensky about how billions of American dollars being transferred to Kiev were being used in the ongoing war with Russia. Zelensky, however, has refused to divulge everything. And this brings us to three big questions. Why is Biden suddenly asking Zelensky about the utilization of American money? Why is Zelensky denying any information? And the big question is, where is the American money going? As per NYT, current and former officials have disclosed that Ukrainian officials have not been sharing their operational plans with the US. The NYT added that information gaps within the US government could make it more difficult for the Biden administration to decide how to target military aid as it sends billions of dollars in weapons to Ukraine. But why are Biden administration officials eager to get some information from Ukraine? Well, we have to understand the way in which American opinion has been shifting on the issue of Ukraine war. When the war started, there was near unanimity in the US about blaming Biden for letting another conflict go out of hand, but also a general consensus about helping Ukraine. The media propaganda that portrayed Vladimir Putin as some sort of a war criminal captured the American imagination, and Biden got a free hand as far as extending financial and military aid to Ukraine is concerned. For some time, even Republicans seem to support the Biden administration's support for Ukraine. However, more and more Americans have now started to ask tough questions about how American money is being used by Ukraine. Republican lawmakers too have started to question Biden's bonanza for Ukraine. 2 months ago, only 3 conservative legislators had voted against the first pro-Ukraine bill. But in mid-May, 57 of them pushed back against a request for weapons and humanitarian aid. At the outset, Biden has to show that he is fixing responsibility and seeking accountability from Zelensky. On Ukraine's part, there is no need to show any accountability. From the very beginning, Biden acted as if it was America's war. So Zelensky feels emboldened and thinks that he is doing Biden's job by burning American cash on the Ukrainian battlefield. So even if Biden is asking for some accountability, Zelensky isn't really keen on giving any explanation. And then the Ukraine president also feels that Biden isn't strong enough a leader. Why should Ukraine feel intimidated or compelled to disclose any information when Biden isn't pushing hard enough? It isn't as if Biden has threatened any dire consequences or cancellation of military aid to Ukraine in case Kiev fails to tell where the American money is going. So Ukraine is taking Biden rather casually and avoiding any transparency in its operations. Now, the biggest question that every American has in his mind is, where is the money going? Ukraine won't answer this question, and Biden is evidently unable to extract an answer from the Ukrainians. However, there are some clues on where the money in Ukraine may be headed. Republican Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene termed the Ukrainian aid program as a scandalous money laundering scheme. The Georgia Republicans said that federal lawmakers fund non-profits, they fund NGOs, they fund grants that go to people. And if you really look into it, a lot of times it's their friends and families that operate these non-profits and NGOs. And it's basically like money laundering schemes. Greene, along with 56 House Republicans, has incessantly strived to block Biden's efforts to lavish hard-earned American taxpayers' money on Ukraine. Marjorie Taylor Greene seems to have rather strong opinions. Yet we do know that Ukraine has become a black hole of sorts. Ukraine is home to neo-Nazi groups, informal militias, and non-state actors. Recently, several US intelligence experts had expressed concerns over the possibility of American military aid falling into the hands of non-state actors. Various US officials, policy, and defense analysts have raised concerns about the fact that some of these weapons may end up in the hands of militias that the US does not want to arm in the long run. So American dollars being exported to Ukraine could end up in the hands of militias or get laundered for vested interests. Meanwhile, the US military-industrial complex is rejoicing. Since the invasion, shares of Lockheed and Raytheon have risen by roughly 16% and 3%. The largest player in the UK and Europe, BAE Systems, was up 26%. For America's cash-strapped deep state, this conflict is godsend. For Americans, this is actually an awkward situation. Ukraine is refusing any information and their money is most likely ending up in the wrong hands. For Biden, this is likely to trigger the downfall of his political career.